Now, the best sounding cars in GTA. I have done a video like this in the past, but of course there's new cars now, there's a lot more new cars, and they've actually made it to this list. Let's actually see what the best sounding cars are in GTA. I might have missed some out, but you know, you guys can comment in the comment section what I have missed out. Now the XA21, I think this is actually a lot of people's favourite sounding car. It's not mine, mostly because GTA share this sound amongst a lot of cars, but this one's definitely got the best variant of this sound. I am now going to show a lot of cars that do sound very similar to the XA21. You can tell they share the same sound physics, but you know, it's a bit quieter, more muffled, sharper. Just have a listen. Now, the AF Drafter, another car that sounds a lot like the XA21. It's definitely got a different tone to it, but this, in my opinion, is better. It's better sounding. I know a lot of people say the XA21 is the best sounding car, but I think the AF Drafter sounds better. When you let go of the throttle, it does this roar. Even when you rev it, a lot of these cars that in the game that have, you know, pops and burbles, they don't do it when you rev the car. But this car, when you rev it, it's got that roar to it, and it actually sounds like an actual roar. Now the Corvette Blackfin, what a great sounding car. From start up to driving, it all sounds consistent. It's the same sound, no changes, and that's why I love these cars, because you know, they're more worked on. And the Corvette Blackfin has that V8 raspy sound. It's very unique. Now the Viserys, I think this car has so much character, it looks really cool. The idea behind the Pantera in real life is really cool. And it's got similar characteristics with the exhaust note, but I feel like the real life version is a bit deeper. And this has the same type of idle sound, but you know, higher pitched. And also the way it smoothens out in real life, it's nearly the same, but higher pitched in GTA. Now the Sultan RS Classic. Now this is the reason that the Sultan RS is not on the list, because it just sounds too similar, but they are unique. They do have a unique, you know, 4-cylinder deep sound, and they share it amongst all Sultans. But that's what I love about this car, it's so unique, you know, they're not going to share this sound with any other car. And it's just a great thing to know that this sound won't be shared amongst other cars. Now the Sterling GT, still my favourite sounding car, and I think let me know if it's not your favorite sounding car. If it's not your favorite sounding car, let me know what is, because I don't understand how this cannot be everyone's favorite sounding car. It just sounds lovely. The burbles on start up, the crackling when you let off the throttle. It's all around, all perfect. I would love to own a car that sounds like this in real life. It's just one of those sounds that you dream of. Now the Franken Stage earlier. This has to be number 2 on the list, very close to the Sterling GT. It sounds amazing. The startup is powerful, loud, the idle is loud. The best feature about this car is the sound. It's just unfortunate that, you know, this theme is this Halloween setup. I would love it to be, you know, a more realistic looking car. You know, making videos on GTA cars, and you know, even this video where I'm actually listening to all the sounds, I've realised that the Schafter V12 has definitely got the loudest startup. If it's not the loudest, it has to be very close to the top, because this startup is amazing. The car sounds really good, but this startup is stupidly loud. Right, the Silvestre. Definitely the car with the most unique startup sound. You've got a nice, like, tinny startup when you start the car. No other car sounds like this in GTA. And the idle, you know, it's not the best, like, example of a rotary idle, but when you actually drive the car, you do hear the difference in the tone. And yeah, just putting on this on this list because of the uniqueness, it is very different. Now the Imperator, another car that sounds good throughout the whole testing, you know, start up, revving the car and driving the car, all sound great. It's just got that perfect ratio of supercharger whine where you can actually hear it and you can hear the exhaust a bit louder. So it's apparent but not that in your face. Now the Hustler, this has to be another card which is right at the top of the list, top 5 I would say, and yeah, by hearing it you'll understand. Now, the RT3000. what a great sounding car on startup and throughout revving. And I think this was overlooked a bit because we were so overwhelmed with the amount of, you know, tuners cars that came out. And, you know, the RT3000 was just one of them. But it has a great startup sound. You've got burbles when, you know, it goes down in the rev range. And then when you're revving it, it also does the same thing, which is consistent. Unfortunately, when you're driving it and you do let off, it does not give the same, you know, burble sounds when you let off the throttle. But, you know, I think it's still a great all-round sounding car. Drift Hamper, great startup, great sound. I mean, most of the time you're listening to the tire squeal in this because it's a Drift Hamper, but when that's not the case, it is an amazing sounding car. Now, another consistent car, sounds a bit like the 8F Drafter, quite a lot like the 8F Drafter. I do prefer the 8F Drafter because it's louder, but this is a nice, consistent, nice sounding car. Now, this car I would say is the closest sounding to the Franken Stage video, which I put right at the top. But, you know, it's a bit higher pitched, it's a bit quieter, but still amazing sounding. So the Hellfire, another car that is really great all-round sounding, and the supercharger whine is nearly as loud as the exhaust sound. So it makes for that great dominance in that supercharger sound, and it's very loud. Now, the Buffalo STX, I think we knew it was going to be on this list. Amazing sounding, you know, effortless V8 sound. It does sound a bit like it's knocking at the high rev ranges, but you got that perfect ratio again with the supercharger, and it just makes for an all-round great sound. Now the Fugitive, I love the sound of this car, and I love how understated the car is as well, because it's just, you know, a normal pedestrian car, but it's got a loud V8, and it's a grunty V8, not fast, just a nice cruiser V8, and it just makes for an amazing understated, you know, low-key car. Now the Patriot Mil spec, probably, you know, not the best sounding. It won't be right at the top of this list, but it's definitely great on uniqueness. How many times, you know, do you have a diesel car in GTA? This has it. This idles like a diesel, sounds like a diesel, and it's just great to, you know, it's refreshing to listen to a diesel. Now the Dominator ASP. Now I never noticed this before, but making this video, I think this is the loudest overall car in GTA. Loudest, you know, driving it. It is extremely loud. Now let me know in the comments if I should do a video on, you know, the loudest car, how people hear it, you know, other players in GTA Online. What is the loudest car in GTA? And I might just do that if there's enough interest. Now, an amazing, underrated car that probably people don't even use anymore, the normal Dominator. Now, this is a bit quirky because half throttle on this car is louder than full throttle. It's the only car on this list, I think it might be in the game, that half throttle is louder, so you can cruise and just enjoy the sound, just like I am in this video. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and let me know what you do think of the loudest sounding cars in GTA. Shall I make that video? What is the loudest sounding? So what I'll actually do is record it from another perspective. So I'll be recording someone else doing a drive-by, measuring how many decibels that is and how loud it is, and seeing which car in the game is the loudest. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever done that before. Let me know what you think, if I should do it or not. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Hopefully you do have a nice day, and see you guys in the next one.